just want to say thanks for coming. Kind of brought this webinar together based on a lot of questions that people had about local recreation around time of COVID-19, where to get out and what to do responsibly. So first of all, my name is Sandra Townsend, and I'm one of the outdoor program coordinators, and I'll let Trevor and Nate introduce themselves. And then if you want to just like let us know what you're interested in, or if you're just hoping to get any ideas, let me know or let us know, and we'll kind of go through our presentation and we can kind of tailor to this smaller group we got going on. Yeah, so Trevor?
Yeah, thanks for coming. Trevor Fulton, Outdoor Program Director. Love getting outside, love sharing places to go on the Palouse. Yeah, and I would say you can always use the chat function on Zoom here if that's easiest to kind of start a thread for questions. Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, and Jessica, hi. My name's Nate. I'm the other outdoor program coordinator with Sandra. And yeah, coming together as a group to kind of really dive into that importance of place and some of those things that we can do around home. Yeah, thank you for coming. Yeah, so what I wanted to touch on and what we as a group were kind of talking about is scaling the activities into complexity and like what do you need to actually go do some of the things around here. And in my time personally, I really enjoy running and just being out on the Palouse. And it doesn't necessarily have to be running in particular. It's also just getting out by foot. And one of the things I want to talk about is just the nearness and the ability to go do those things. And it's simple. It's a simple thing to kind of leave your house on foot and go explore. And something that I've been doing is just going from town and going out on some of the farm roads. And during this time, during the spring, it's pretty fascinating, like watching how this place comes alive with the farming that occurs. And I feel like I'm getting a better sense of where I live. And I think that's something where, when we're in our daily grind of whether it's school, managing spaces, being stuck in a routine, it's really nice to go out and kind of grasp a place on your own terms, whether that's jogging or running. And it's one of those, I was looking, just seeing your note, going running and hiking quite a bit and going like Kamiak Butte and Moscow Mountain. Those places are phenomenal. I personally love going there, and this picture is actually of Moscow Mountain. I think for those who live in town and don't get up there a lot, don't really understand that we go from wheat fields into Fern Gully, ferns and cedar trees and really beautiful landscape, but also going into, we get into a cycle with that too. And that's kind of where I wanted to really go into. It's simple, but simple, it does not mean easy necessarily. There's definitely some hurdles to where do I go? How long do I go? What am I trying to get out of it? And so this concept that was brought up in a webinar that Sandra had shared, or we shared on our Facebook by some other trainers, was this concept of motivation and discipline. And I think a big thing, especially during this time, is what are our goals? What are you trying to get out of exercising? Whether it's an experience of going up to Moscow Mountain to be in that natural landscape with, the trees around us, or if you're going out on a road run to test maybe your specific time for a 3-mile run or working towards a 5K. And I want to just say that this is something during this downtime, we have the leisure, but also maybe it's the burden of time to really put into context what our goals and aspirations are for running. And so this is where I personally have been taking this, is finding new beautiful places to run in the area that aren't with everyone else. And you mentioned Kamiak Butte, Moscow Mountain, and Elk River. I've gone to a couple of those, and a lot of other people are going to those places. And so this is an opportunity to talk about areas where we can get out that maybe people are not. And whether that's a trailhead or public roadways, something that I've personally been doing a lot of is going out in the seemingly endless country roads south of town between here and Genesee, and there's pullouts and running kind of in this, twilight zone, that kind of hour before sunset, and exploring some of these dirt roads out there. So it's not so much trail running and it's not full on road running, but it's this really pretty incredible just perspective that I had never had living here for over a year and a half, running a lot. I had been running every day at Headwaters, but right now there are more people on Headwaters than I've ever seen. So I've been trying to avoid that kind of place. And with that, as we go, and questions that you may have about how to plan goals, how to plan different missions or something that you might want to do, that's something that we're here to talk about in terms of creating a timeline, maybe a list of places that you might want to go, and having a little bit more of that intention so that you have motivation. And the thing that I was going to come back to is, if you're motivated, you have a little bit more energy to be disciplined. For me, the hardest 5 feet of running is getting out of my door. It's crazy. It's so simple, but some mornings I'm just like, I don't know where I want to go. Sometimes it just takes leaving the house and going where you didn't know you wanted to go. So, and Sandra, if you could go to the next slide. So one of these things, there are a lot of resources, and I don't know, Jessica, if you've ever kind of worked with or done anything with the Palouse Roadrunners. They actually have some cool resources on their website, on the Facebook, and I've been trying to think of ways of contacting people with like where are their favorite loops, or planning something out. But I wanted to talk about, looking at maps. I'm a map person. And I use something called CalTopo quite a bit. If you've never heard of that website, caltopo.com is a mapping application, and it actually has a function where you can actually measure out the distance of a run. And so after you've assessed those goals and you're motivated to maybe try to do a 5K in a little bit faster time, and you've put together a regimen of how to do that, you can map out a route that's somewhere different than you've ever run. And something that I do to keep that motivation is I have a large map in my house of different areas that are really important to me. And a big one that is particular is a map of the Wallowas. And every time I go on a big run or some adventure out there, I Sharpie in where I went, I date it, I put how I felt in just kind of write, really small. And it creates this time frame and this landscape that isn't just the activity. It puts into context where I've been, where I've come from. And those are some things that I've been doing more just around town that I hadn't thought of doing on the Palouse. And so those springtime Palouse road runs that I was talking about, it's remarkable. This place is so beautiful. And there's some churches out south of town that are just in the middle of nowhere. They're beautiful. And it's just something where I just would never have found those unless I had chosen kind of a random dirt road loop and taken the time to do that, midweek, going out and no one's out there. And then, and that stuff in particular is the Genesee Troy Road, has all these little offshoots. And that's something that I've been doing a lot of. And it's kind of addressing multiple things. I'm staying away from others. It is beautiful, and it's also kind of fulfilling my needs of distance and then also some elevation in my runs, because it's turns out it's really hilly over there. And then another one, and this is one just for folks who are familiar with places like Kamiak Butte, Moscow Mountain, the Little Boulder Creek campground and picnic area on the Potlatch River, which is outside Helmer. There is a phenomenal 5-mile loop, and it's pretty busy during the days, especially on weekends, but I've been going out there in the evening and it is amazing. And it's one of those places, beautiful cedar trees up on this ridge, and then you come down and there's a section of trail that goes along the Potlatch River. And it actually, I'm a geology aficionado as well. And there is this crazy metamorphic quartzite. There's this rock that I've never seen anywhere else around here. And it's just a little bit more of that exposure into the Palouse. And yeah, and after we're done with this, if you do have more questions about hiking, and we could talk about a lot of other places too. But I think just in terms of time frame, I might pass it on and I can't remember, and pass it on to Trevor, and we can start talking about some other stuff.
Places where you can find other resources, our website, uidaho.edu/outdoor program. If you go on the resources, and then at the bottom, there's this regional outdoor activities. If you click on that, there's a whole lot of PDFs that are going to have a whole list of different activities that you can do. And then we have different conditions, so you don't have to search and scour the internet to see weather or river conditions. Just go on our website and we'll get all the links. Like we were talking about, American Whitewater is a great resource. Trail Forks is another great resource. Strava is all user-based data. If other people are using Strava, it collects your data of where you went. One of the coolest resources they have is their heat map. So you can actually see what are the most popular routes in the area. It's just an interesting way of seeing where people go if you can't find other people to get data. And then the Mambo website definitely has some information. And then I think one of the best rich places to get information is just local Facebook groups. Like Nate was talking about, Palouse Roadrunners have a good Facebook group. Mamba has a great Facebook group that they update all the time. I know Lady Shredders of the Palouse has a Facebook group. Just all of these little groups will have daily or at least weekly updates on conditions. And so becoming a part of those communities just gives you a lot of ideas of what current conditions are.